realized that students were coming at freshman year and saying, oh, I'm not good at programming, or I can't join the robotics club, I've never built robots before. For an 18-year-old to say they're not good at something, in the orientation I say, you just haven't learned it yet.
It is a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to be in this space. Thanks for letting me come in to interview you. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about you, talking about your journey here and such, but we're in this space. I'm a historian, as you know. I sit around seminar tables, I stand in front of lecture halls, but when you walked me into this room, I started to geek out. Like my inner geek that's real tiny, doesn't know all these things, like what is that, what is that, what is that? I just wanted to touch everything. This is your office space, or one of your office spaces. What's it like to come into work with all of this?
The robotics equipment has this response, both in me and the students, of, oh, this is going to be something to play with.
Yes.
And then you try to solve the hard problems, and you find that you're mostly dealing with the math and the programs. But to have that sense of wonder with the technology is very important. And I think that's what drives us to do the long hours in the lab and on the blackboard.
Blackboard? Do you actually have blackboards? Is there chalk in this room?
We have whiteboards.
Okay.
I still call them blackboards.
Of course, I respect that.
Actually, they're orange boards now.
I have a camera. I can see it orange boards. It's like a very Halloween kind of aesthetic going on here. But when you walked me into the lab, we were talking, but I got rather distracted. So I'm like, ooh, the sense of play and that sense of wonder. I think that's just a really exciting environment to be in. For those who don't know, this space, we are in a new engineering space on campus.
Indeed.
So tell me a little bit. I'm new to the university, so walk me through the story of this physical plant.
This is Weeks Hall. Dean Tom Farris really spearheaded the construction, the design, and the building of this space. And it was a long time coming. We didn't have a very eye-popping space in the engineering school, and now we do.
Yes, absolutely. I was getting distracted even before we got into the lab, looking at this space. For those Doctor Who fans out there, the TARDIS is this, they will know the reference. It's bigger on the inside than the outside. And that's sort of what I felt when I walked in here.
Yes, and I met with the architectural team for about a year leading up to the construction because they wanted myself and other professors to just listen in and make sure that the space would have everything we needed. Things on the ceiling, power on the floor, doors that would open wide, an elevator across the hall that you could load large robots into the space. And it was a great experience. As a matter of fact, somebody from the architecture team says, do you remember me? I went to Rutgers, I took your class.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So I do remember you.
So you trained your own future.
Yes.
That's awesome. Tell me about Rutgers Engineering change. Like, what's the story been? You've been part of that story.
I have been part of that story. And over the years, some things stay the same.
Okay.
The faculty, world-renowned, world-class research. And every year it gets better. I started when this school had a little bit less school spirit, though.
Okay.
I didn't see sweatshirts with Rutgers and things like that. And over the years, we have worked on our visual identity and our school spirit, and I definitely see that. The other wonderful thing that hasn't changed, that was there in the beginning and is still here, is the amazing student body. They are extremely talented students, and I find Rutgers students to be humble and hardworking, and as well as brilliant. And those are traits which launch a successful career.
You are ready to do the advertising campaign on my behalf, which is awesome. But you work at the boundaries, it seems to me, of, and I'll speak in very broad strokes terms, of building things, and then also finding ways for those things to interact with what I'll call the natural world. And and that's not a simple task. So, you know, socially cognizant robotics.
Yes.
That's your specialty.
Yes.
Help the viewing audience understand what this is all about.
Okay, well, this term was introduced by myself and my colleagues. So this is a collaborative effort.
So it's not just something you work. This is not where you work on. This is you. This is your baby that you're talking about here.
Our babies.
Our baby. Pardon me. Pardon me. Yes.
Yes, indeed. Though you're right. This is a kind of a niche part of robotics. Very often, robotics mostly means STEM.
Okay.
Right. But one of our goals, and my team just got an NSF grant, a large NSF grant to pursue this goal. One of our goals is to improve the quality of life. Actually, a very simple, basic goal with robotics.
Okay.
The term socially cognizant robotics comes because in order to do that, you have to have an interdisciplinary effort.
Okay.
So socially cognizant robotics is an integration of computer science, engineering, psychology, sociology, linguistics, urban planning. Because we all imagine that robots can improve our quality of life.
Right.
The potential of robots, even the hype of robots, is very familiar. We can imagine our robot assistant next to us in the future doing all the hard stuff.
I mean, the movies tell us we can do all this stuff.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And people jump to that, but,
Right.
but there's a lot of work to be done. Robots are very different from humans. So in order to improve quality of life, we have this opportunity because technology has changed greatly in recent times. In the 1980s, the field of robotics thought they would have these robot assistants, but frankly, nothing worked very well, except for small areas. Factory automation, for instance, is a big success story.
My Atari's joystick worked beautifully,
Yeah,
by the way,
yeah,
but I think
yes.
you're talking at a different level.
Yes,
Okay.
the natural robot assistant. What's happened recently, though, is technology advances, in particular in deep learning, kind of changed the game.
Go back a second now. Deep learning.
Yes.
That sounds like a natural phrase.
Yes.
I suspect it's more complicated than that. So what's going on there?
Great question. As a matter of fact, I spent a few weeks in my robotics and vision class teaching my undergraduates that term seems like it's alluding to something very complicated, but it's actually very simple.
Okay.
Deep learning is a way to use some math to approximate any function. Let me give you an example of image recognition.
Okay.
In computer vision or robot vision, you want to see the image of an object and come up with the label of what it is. That's a function, some numbers in, the pixels of the image, some number out, the label of what the object is. Is it a car? Is it a horse? Right? And deep learning is a function approximator. And the reason why they call it deep is because there are many layers. You have the input, you do some computation, you pass that computation to the next layer. You do some more computation, you pass that computation to the next layer. A lot of layers, it's deep.
Okay.
So that's really all that is.
You say that's all that is to the guy who left studying mathematics as soon as he could to study history and such. I truly believe that universities are places to solve really hard problems. That is one of our core functions, and to make the world better, as you've already referenced. I'm convinced that the best answers for those hard problems are going to be found through interdisciplinary scholarship.
Yes.
That you bring, in my world, a historian and a political scientist together. We ask different questions. We are trained to ask different questions. But finding ways to work together, we get an answer neither of us could have come up with on our own. I've spoken from my world. Is that sort of what's going on in your world?
That's exactly what's going on.
Okay.
In order to make robots that have goals that affect humanity in a positive way, one has to consider humans, and society in the early stage of the design process. Not as an afterthought, and not just by engineers and scientists.
Right.
Rather, it's an interdisciplinary effort so that the knowledge from each field can be used equally to build a system that where the output is not such that humans have to adapt to the technology, but technology is built for the humans.
Walk me through a bit the experience that you have with undergrads and grad students in terms of how you're teaching them, how you're training them, what you hope for them to do.
Well, this is a very important part of my job, my role in taking students from curiosity to competence. Right?
Okay.
And the undergrads come to my class. I teach a class called Robotics and Vision, and they are so excited because of the tantalizing
It's robotics
idea
and
of
vision.
robotics.
I mean, I want to take that class.
And they turn that energy into the energy in their studies. And in the 20 years that I've been here, this goes back to the question that you asked me earlier, robot vision, computer vision, didn't work as well 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. So the students, I taught them a skill that I knew only a few of them would go to grad school and be able to get a job in the area.
Right.
That's not the case today. Now, they take their final projects. I carefully work through the details so that they can present it in an interview. And they get amazing internships and job offers based on what they've done in their capstone design and the design project in my class.
And are these students, I think it's, all of what you said is wonderful. And here I am putting my presidential hat on and thinking about Rutgers in a long term. Are they finding jobs in the state of New Jersey, or are they just going everywhere? Is it a mixture, or what is it?
It is a mixture. My PhD students have gone to some of the best places for technology. Google, Amazon AI.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Apple.
Yes.
C Machine Robotics. Kitware, one of my students has a startup company, Steg AI. They've really hit the ground running in the real world. And there are opportunities locally too. We have traditionally sent engineering students to the financial world in New York City.
Oh, really?
Because they're quantitative skills.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yes.
Do you feel that Rutgers is becoming a place for entrepreneurs, investors, more institutional, large corporations such? Are they recognizing something special is happening here? Are they like, well, you said your PhD students, they're finding their jobs. They have some really real success there.
They are well sought after. And I do think that we continually need to get the word out of how successful the students are, both in traditional jobs and in entrepreneurship. One of the things that Rutgers can improve is startup incubation. I think that New Jersey is the foundation of technology.
Right, yes.
I don't know how California, Silicon Valley calls.
I mean, who wants to go there? They don't have any water anymore, there's earthquakes. I mean, we're fine.
A wonderful place, California. But New Jersey gets a bad rap, right?
Yes.
And it's here that Edison invented the light bulb in Menlo Park. The transistor, the foundation of all computation, right here in Bell Labs in Murray Hill, New Jersey. Some television development in RCA in Princeton, which became the Sarnoff Research Center.
Well, see, I didn't know that. But but you're right, that New Jersey does not get the fair shake that it does as far as people's general awareness. I do know the governor is really interested in this topic, and we are looking to find ways to partnership in this tech space, in this innovation space. I think the opportunities are really exciting here. And being in a place like this, I know this is one piece of a much larger puzzle when we think about, the entrepreneurial opportunities that Rutgers presents. But it's an exciting piece.
Indeed.
So I'm trying to find the polite way to say this. What has kept you here?
Well, in academia, you get to work in discovery. Right? And you get to decide what to do. So for instance, this NRT, in socially cognizant robotics, myself in collaboration with my team, mentored by people like Eileen Cowler who have similar grants. It was an area that I hadn't worked in exactly before. I worked in robot vision. So it was a leap. But you can do that. You can create your own destiny in academics. You can look around and globally see what's interesting and proceed. And you have a lot more control than you do in other careers. And so academics in general is very attractive. And the environment at Rutgers has always provided me with everything that I need.
Great. Yeah. Great. Well, you've certainly got a great space here, and I'm glad to see that. Tell me a bit about your specific journey as a woman in STEM. In engineering. I confess I can't quote the numbers, but I know that women are really underrepresented in the STEM space. Has that mattered to you in terms of your professional development, in terms of the way you think about your job or Rutgers students?
That's an excellent question. When I think back to being a young female student in engineering, I was one of 3 in the electrical engineering department at Cooper Union in New York City. No. I guess there were probably between 60 and 100.
Wow.
And we were certainly underrepresented. I had a sort of a driving ambition to become an engineer. So I didn't look around so much and say, do people look like me? It was okay. But that's a peculiarity of my own personality.
Sure.
For many people, when they look around and they don't see people like them, an insecurity comes in. And also, STEM in general can be very intimidating. And as I've aged, I realized that you can do something about that. You can make people feel more comfortable. And one of the things that I've tried to initiate is something called N2E clubs.
N2E.
Yes,
Okay.
and N2E stands for novice to expert.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because I realized that students were coming at freshman year and saying, oh, I'm not good at programming, or I can't join the robotics club, I've never built robots before. And for an 18-year-old to say they're not good at something, in the orientation I say, you just haven't learned it yet.
Right.
So N2E provides a welcoming environment for students to be comfortable being a beginner.
I love that, because we all, at some point, we all have to begin somewhere,
Yes.
right? I knew when I started college, I knew with all the certainty of an 18-year-old, I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. And having done no research in the field, I don't know. But then my fall court of calculus reminded me that not my skill set. And so I went in other places. But the fact is, there are so many people who have the talent that I don't. I mean, I don't have that talent, who can do it, but they need to have someone telling them they can do it.
Yes.
That it's okay to be a novice. You know, I love the N2E construction. Or it's okay to have a passion, even if you don't see a lot of people who look like you share that. And so this is really important to me. One of the reasons I'm so excited about being at Rutgers is the possibilities of the place, what I like to call the democratic possibilities. Doesn't matter where you came from. Doesn't matter what you look like. If you're curious, if you got drive, we can do great things. And that sounds exactly like what you've been doing. And that just, it speaks to what I've been talking about as the beloved community. That it is about the fact that we share something in common. In the case of your space, a curiosity, like a wanting to understand how we can make this built world interact with this natural world. And that's what you're interested in, the curiosity.
Yes.
And you can tap into that. I think that's what you're talking about is a message that carries forward, in my opinion, to Rutgers broadly writ. So thank you for doing that work. You're already on message, and we've just met. So you're on message before I got here. When I think about my experience here, you've been here 22 years, I've been here 13 months. Is there some piece of advice that you could give a new person like me? I'm a novice to Rutgers, at this point. Tell me what I need to know about Rutgers.
I recommend that you have interactions, planned interactions with the students, and listen to their ideas and even their gripes, but listen to where they're going, because that's my best advice about Rutgers. And also tour the campus. It is a tapestry of so many different fields.
It's a beautiful way to put it. Yes, it's a tapestry. Yes.
And over the years, I've been able to collaborate with different areas outside my own, most recently in this National Research Traineeship. But even before that, with dermatologists who study the appearance of skin.
Oh, wow.
With plant biologists at the Cranberry Research Center to study the appearance of cranberries to monitor crop risk. With the Civil Engineering Department, who did bridge inspection with robotics. And it was very easy to make those collaborations. We met at either organized events or picked up the phone and said, hey, this is what you do, this is what I do.
I love it.
Yeah. Administrators have actually helped tremendously. I asked Dean Farris, I said, I'm interested in agriculture, and because computer vision can help agriculture. And here we are at Rutgers with a lot of things going on in agriculture. Who should I talk to? And he connected me with Peter Udemans, and we've had a nice collaboration ever since.
It makes me so happy to hear that. I think the role of Dean Farris, Tom Farris, and he did exactly the right thing. That's exactly what, as the administration, should be doing to help facilitate the excellence that's already here,
Yes.
and to identify more of it and to cultivate it, so we can bring more exciting people into your labs.
Another example
Yeah.
that worked so well, that came from the administration, Prabhas Moji put together an ideation workshop in 2018. And that was the seed of this National Research Traineeship, this $3 million grant that came in last September. He said these large grants don't just happen, they need to be cultivated. And he put together groups from different departments to spend a day talking. And he was right, it did work.
I love hearing that. He's our chief academic officer, so knowing that, predating my arrival, that this is part of his narrative that he's sharing with the faculty is wonderful. You shared a bit about those things that really are exciting about Rutgers. And the place isn't perfect. We are a human enterprise, so there'll be frailty there certainly. But I've been peppering you with questions. Is there anything you need to ask me?
Well, I do want your perspective, and it's important to have a perspective of a non-STEM person. We have people on the team for the following question. We want to use robotics to make the society better, make society better. We're going to start with campus experiments. And so how do you think robotics could enhance Rutgers campus?
Oh, wow. So immediately I started having visions in my head from like movie sets, imagining all these ridiculous things that the robots might be able to do.
Right, realistic robotics.
I imagine, I mean, look, we are a massive physical plant.
Yes.
And as you said, a tapestry, that we have a lot of facilities that are in different stages in their life expectancy. And based on what you're just saying, it sounds like robotics can be a real help in terms of just sort of that behind-the-scenes work of making sure our infrastructure is sound. When I think about, and this may be a bit Hollywoodish, I just don't know where the lines of reality and fantasy, where or if they intersect. But we also have, speaking of infrastructure, a transportation challenge. I mean, we're spread out. We have a huge student body that needs to get from one place to another. I know that we can crunch a lot of data to figure out, to maximize efficiencies and things like that.
Yes.
But maybe there's some space where robotics, maybe even AI, can help get us to a best solution more quickly. And in the urban development space, as we try to design new parts of the campus, keeping the user in mind.
Yes.
From the beginning all the way through the end. And then, of course, you can get to the silly stuff about having really smart robots that can, in what I will call interacting with students, with people who are at the height of their commitment to socializing. Like, I don't know what robots can do in those spaces, but maybe there are fun ways to deploy robots.
Right. One of our immediate challenges is getting a small robot to navigate campus without building large 3D models of campus, but just sort of learning from example, watching maybe a robot trainer, learning with bits of information and filling that in and learning each day.
Well, that could help figure out optimal times between classes, I suppose, and where you can put classrooms.
Yes.
Okay, so basically it's endless. that robotics can do all kinds of amazing things, but we need to know what the right questions are.
Right.
And processing the unpredictability of these creatures, of humanity.
Yes. And this is a big part of our socially cognizant robotics program, is to consider the unintended consequences and how to mitigate those. And to actually approach robotics research with humility.
I was literally about to say, it sounds like you were headed that direction, and if you weren't, I was going to get you there. Because in any field, if you are full of hubris, something bad is going to happen. And you don't know when, but it's going to happen. And so I am reassured. I will go to bed at peace tonight, knowing that there is a level of passion, curiosity, and excitement, and a sense of humility, all operating in this space. That bodes well.
We hope to, with this graduate training program, we hope to kind of fill the gap of STEM students who don't necessarily know the consequences that might happen, always think about the positive things.
Yes.
And sort of a socially aware technologist.
Yes.
And a technology aware social scientist.
I love it.
So that we're going to train socially cognizant roboticists with this integrated program.
This is Rutgers changing the world for good.
Indeed.
That's a lovely thing. Thank you so much for your time. This has been fabulous.